rise for the Deputy Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Bruce Reynolds.
Okay, thank you, CEO. Okay, good afternoon everyone and welcome to the City of Perth September 2025 Ordinary Council meeting. I formally declare this meeting open at 5 p.m. and I'd respectfully like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land which we meet, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. And I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. It is a privilege for us to be standing here on Whadjuk Noongar country. CEO, could you please recite the prayer?
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion. And to thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Just give me 1 second to get myself organised. So much paperwork up here, so give me a second. Okay, to kick proceedings off, please note that in accordance with the Local Government Act of 1995, this meeting is being live streamed and the recording will be made available on the City's website following the meeting. In attendance today, we have Councillor Clyde Bevan, Councillor Raj Doshi, Councillor Liam Gobbett, Councillor David Gonsalves, Councillor Victor Coe is a late apology, Councillor Catherine Leeser, Councillor Stephen Wellard. In addition, I'd like to welcome all our officers, our CEO, members of the public and any media that may be in attendance. Item 3.1, which is apologies, and 3.2, leave of absence. There have, as I mentioned, have a late apology for Councillor Coe. There are no current elected members on approved leave of absence. 3.3 is application for leave of absence. We've not received any applications for leave of absence. Do any elected members have any requests from the floor? Okay. Do we need to move that if there's no requests? We move straight on. Okay. So, excuse me, we can move straight on. Acknowledgements. Can all elected members please acknowledge they've had sufficient time to read and consider the agenda items presented today, this evening? All good, thank you. Just a quick reminder to turn your mobile phones to silent. If you do need to take a call and it is an emergency, please excuse yourself. With the emergency protocols, in the event of an emergency, please pay attention for all in attendance to the directions given by the City of Perth staff. Item 4 is announcements by the Deputy Lord Mayor. Please bear with me on that one. So I do have... Now I just got to find where I'll put it. Where is my speech? Okay, we found it. Okay, so this will be my last speech as the Deputy Lord Mayor of the City of Perth in this chair, and what the future holds for all of us, time will tell. First of all, there are 2 items on the agenda tonight that I've allowed to come forward as urgent business. What has been apparent on the hustlings for all of us is the urgency and concern so many in our community feel about these very issues. As many are aware, the City has sent a letter to the Minister on the first one, which is on the 27th of May, regarding public consultation to the motorplex. The City and stakeholders then received a briefing during the week of the 14th of May. I also understood that a full briefing would be held thereafter, and that since has taken place between the last council meeting and this council meeting, making this motion timely. It puts forward by the motion that the City should send a letter stating our position on the motorplex development via a letter to the Premier on behalf of our residents. And for clarity with those meetings on the 14th of May, during the week of the 14th of May, the City, community members and myself had meetings with Mr Pastorelli at his office, and my meeting was explained to me according to the content being the same of those other meetings. and that it was a courtesy as in my role as the acting Lord Mayor, and included only what was known at the time and shared with all stakeholders, the city and community in the meetings. Sometime later, we received an email from EM Support noting there had been a public inquiry about whether I'd had a meeting. I'd asked who had sent the meeting and why, who had sent the letter and why, because it was just presented to us as a question without any other reference. The administrator went to get the information, but we never heard back, and I didn't get to replying. So we do have a correction on record for that, which we'll be reading out later in the minutes. Where are we? The second urgent motion was presented to us again for us via our ratepayers to write to the Premier regarding our position on behalf of all, many of whom have clearly told us they do not want this project to proceed as presented in regards to the Matilda Bay Ferry Terminal location. It is important as a conduit between ratepayers and government that we act on this feedback. This is a significant matter that affects many of us in our community, and I look forward to the Chamber having its say later this evening on both motions on behalf of our community. And lastly, as I mentioned, this quite possibly will be the final meeting of this council as it is currently present in regards to its makeup. So to those of you who have nominated again for further duties, I congratulate you all. To those who may not be returning based on the election results, this may be your last meeting in this chamber. On behalf of our administration, myself and our ratepayers, I want to sincerely thank you for your service. And with that, I'd also like to dedicate the following verse. And this poem, if you like, was left on my desk some months ago during a particular period, and since then I've had it framed. It's become one of my most prized possessions. Lots of word of wisdom. The last 10 months has been an immense honour, full of challenges, some necessary and some unnecessary, but always a privilege to serve in this role. And so whoever the kind soul was that left this verse on my desk, you have no idea what that act of kindness meant. And to all those who are entering the next phase of this election, good luck. This poem is for all of us that move forward in whatever vocation we move forward in, and in whatever plight the rest of our journey in this life takes. It's simply titled If. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, do not deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet never look too good nor talk too wise. I can do that part. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear the truth that you've spoken, twisted by knaves and made a trap for fools, or watch the things you've given your life to, broken and stoop to build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it in one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word of your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve you long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will that says to hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, not lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and for which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Rudyard Kipling, fantastic words, and again, dedicated to those who may return and those who won't be with us as we meet next month. Thank you. Okay, now we move to public participation. No, we don't. We move to disclosure of interests. Item 5 on the agenda is disclosures of interests. CEO, can you please detail interests which may have been disclosed?
The following interests have been disclosed. Councillor Liam Gobbett has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 16.1 as he attended events held by form as the city's representative in accordance with the attendance at events policy. No association has been formed, and this represents an impartiality interest only.
Thank you, CEO. Item 6 is public participation. 6.1, response to public questions previously taken on notice. No questions have been taken on notice from the Ordinary Council meeting of the 26th of August in 2025. Item 6.2 is public question time. Before we commence public question time, I'll remind everyone that 15 minutes is allocated for public questions and that this time is available to ask questions only. It is not for making statements or expressing personal opinions. In addition, no discussion of the questions or answers are to take place. Questions received with more than 24 hours notice will be responded to first. And for those of you who have submitted your questions in the last 24 hours, your questions will be included to the minutes of the meeting and a response will be provided in the agenda to the next ordinary council meeting. CEO, have we received any public questions with more than 24 hours notice?
Yes, Deputy Lord Mayor, 2 members of the public have submitted public questions.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll get straight into it. I'll invite Vicky Raniszewski to please step forward. Please state your name and suburb and fire away. Good to see you, Vicky.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Now, I have 4 questions in total, so how would you like me to proceed? One after the other or one at a time? Or
I'll let you decide. I'm easy either way.
Okay, question 1. Could you please advise the individual totals for travel expenditure pertaining to each of the councillors and Acting Lord Mayor for this calendar year, 1st of January 2025 to 21st of September 2025?
All right, no problem. Before I just pass that through to CEO, I might just have a quick question for you. Calendar year, 1st of January, normally these questions are on financial year. Is there a reason for that?
No, just calendar year, because there's already 2024, 2025 financial year ones out,
And 25?
but nothing's come forth for 2025 yet for all the financials.
Yeah, that's right. But
Yeah.
the start of the financial year starts 6 months earlier. Okay, I'll pass that through to the CEO.
Thank you very much. So, Deputy Lord Mayor Bruce Reynolds has spent a total of $4,094. That was in relation to the going to Canberra for the Australian Local Government Association, ALGA, National General Assembly Conference, $2,515 for airfare, accommodation and meal costs. And also for the Council of Capital City Lord Mayors, CCCLM, Annual General Meeting, $1,579 on airfare, accommodation and meal costs. Councillor David Gonsalves attended Canberra for the ELGA conference and $2,524 for airfare, accommodation and meal costs. Councillor Liam Gobbett attended the ELGA conference in Canberra, $2,515,000 for airfare, accommodation and meal costs. Councillor Raj Doshi attended the World Energy Cities Partnership, Calgary in Canada, to attend the annual general meeting, $5,596 for airfare, accommodation and meal costs. And Councillor Stephen Wellard attended the World Energy Cities Partnership and Zero Week in Houston, USA, at a cost of $24,756 for airfare, accommodation and meal costs. It should be noted that its city accounts for September are yet to be finalised and reconciled. These figures may be subject to change.
Thank you, CEO. Through to the next question.
Thank you. Question 2. Why did all City of Perth residents recently receive from the City of Perth in the post an A4 printed envelope, also since then a DL printed envelope, stating important electoral information, City of Perth, which only contain Bruce Reynolds' electoral campaign team material?
Okay, do you want me to answer that one, CEO, or do you have an answer for that one?
This is a matter for the Deputy Lord Mayor. However, I would add this publication was not published or distributed in any way by the City of Perth.
Pretty much exactly how I was going to answer that one. Through to the third question.
In the OCM 1st of July, I specifically questioned why a City of Perth committee meeting had not been conducted in nearly 2 years, being a requirement under the City of Perth Act, Section 14, to meet at least twice a year. As it has now been over 2 years since the last meeting, I reiterate, has the committee meeting since been scheduled with the Premier?
Okay, thank you for the question. Through to the CEO.
There has been no City of Perth committee meeting scheduled with the Premier. The scheduling of the Committee of Perth meetings is outside the control of the City. It falls under the City of Perth Act, which prescribes that the Premier decides when the committee is to meet.
Thank you. And the last question, Vicky.
Yes. Could the City please advise if there were any official City of Perth appointments booked or recorded for Acting Lord Mayor Bruce Reynolds on the evening Tuesday the 16th of September from 6 p.m. or thereafter, and if so, what time were they booked and may we know who with?
Thank you. Through to the CEO.
No, there were no official City of Perth events or meetings scheduled at this time for the Deputy Lord Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And thank you very much, Vicky. I do actually have another meeting tonight after this one, which isn't an official appointment of the City of Perth, but it will be obviously, a meeting that I'll have. If you want to know about that one, I can let you know about that one as well. Okay, thank you. Through to our next person asking questions is Mr. David Lim. David, are you here? Hey, David. Please state your name and your suburb. It's good to see you.
Good evening. My name is David Lim, and I live in Daglish. So I was wondering if I could ask the questions in order of priority that I have.
Yep, no problem.
You've
You've got 10 minutes, so you've got a fair bit of time up your sleeve as well, so no need to rush.
Okay. Question 2. Under leadership, infrastructure and operations, there is a line item, asset handover UWA to EQ Ferry, with a budget of $25,000 and a comment stating that a master project agreement is being developed. What does this agreement relate to, and for how long will this last? What public realm works are being designed and constructed to eventually be included as city assets?
Thank you. Through to the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Infrastructure and Operations to respond, please.
Thank you. Through the Chair, the major project agreement is an agreement between the state and the city in relation to assets that will be contributed to the city in line with Council Policy 218, the Contribute Asset Policy. The agreement lasts for the length of the project and is related to road, path and landscaping assets that will be handed to the city at the completion of the project.
Thank you. Next question, David.
Question 7. At tomorrow's Ordinary Council meeting, the City of Nedlands Commissioners will receive a briefing note informing them that the administration is undertaking a scheme text review of their local planning scheme number 3, while the state government progresses the UWA QE2 improvement plan through the West Australian Planning Commission. What is the City of Perth's position on the necessity for the state government to A, clarify the timing and extent of community representation and local government input in the improvement scheme development process. B, undertake formal coordination to align local and state planning objectives. C, establish a coordination mechanism in the form of a joint working group and liaison officer. D, identify and define a shared vision statement with a set of guiding planning principles. E, oversee the planning, construction and provision of infrastructure and transportation alternatives such as light rail and or mid-tier transport to encourage reduced car use and congestion. F, adopt broader mixed-use zoning that aligns with best practice in urban planning. And G, approve and advertise the City of Perth's draft local planning scheme number 3.
Okay, thank you. I'll pop that one through to the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please.
Through Deputy Lord Mayor, sorry, apologies, I just needed to double check.
No problem.
In response to your items A to F, UWA QE2 is a significant precinct within the City of Perth, and it is expected that the City will be actively involved with the state government through the preparation of the improvement scheme. It is also expected that there will be extensive community engagement through the process. The City continues to liaise with the state government on the project. The objectives of the improvement plan that inform the improvement scheme generally align with the City's local planning strategy. This includes objectives of the improvement plan to manage congestion and provide a safe, integrated and efficient movement network. A mix of land uses is also anticipated. In terms of item G, which relates to the local planning scheme number 3, draft local planning scheme number 3 is currently being considered by the state government for consent to advertised, and it is anticipated that consultation on draft local planning scheme number 3 will commence in early 2026.
Okay, thank you. Next question, David.
Okay, and the next then, if that's the last amount of time that I have left.
No, you've still got another 6 minutes. So
Okay.
go for your last.
So this is question 8. The recently signed off annual report of QE2 Medical Centre Trust for the financial year ending 30th of June 2025 states that an important priority for the Trust was to lead a multi-agency working group established by the state government to drive significant improvements for parking and access at the QE2 Medical Centre. Part A, how is the City currently collaborating with QE2 Medical Centre Trust to address parking and congestion issues in the area? B, what update can the City provide on the progress of a business case commissioned to WA Health to identify potentially constructing an additional QE2 Medical Centre multi-deck car park facility and its location? C, since the completion of community consultation on parking around the Perth Children's Hospital precinct in Nedlands on 29th of April 2023, how compliant have vehicle users, which include hospital workers and university students, been in adhering to the current parking restrictions in terms of number of regular ranger patrols undertaken and the number of infringements issued? And D, what would be the estimated daily increase of traffic coming to the area as a result of the additional availability of parking?
Good questions. Through to the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please.
Thank you. Through the Deputy Lord Mayor. In terms of item A, the City is working with the Department of Transport and major infrastructure relating to the QE2 Medical Centre access and mobility, which aims to improve transport and mobility outcomes within the precinct. In terms of item B, QE2 Medical Centre have progressed this business case directly to state government, and the City hasn't been involved in that process. With respect to item C and the parking, since the new conditions were introduced, the parking services team have undertaken the same regularity of daily patrols, and since the 1st of July 2023 to date, there have been 3,842 infringements. And in terms of item D, which relates to the traffic numbers and the multi-deck facility, it's our understanding that a traffic impact study is required to inform any proposal for a multi-deck car park facility at this location. Currently, there is no development application with the City for assessment.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
Okay. So question 9. On 11th of August 2025, residents in Crawley received a letter about the avenue proposed installation of temporary speed radar signs. Importantly, and as stated, electronic speed radar signs provide drivers with real-time feedback on their speed. In response to the letter distributed to residents and businesses, Part A, by Friday, 22nd of August 2025, how many submissions were received with feedback on the proposed installation of speed radar signs? B, did installation take place in early September outside houses 11 and 12, the avenue on opposite sides of the road? Part C, what positive outcomes have been identified in City of Perth's speed reduction and noise management measures this year? And Part D, what update can the City provide on discussions with the City of Nedlands on its plans for traffic calming measures north of Broadway?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
And to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, please.
Thank you. Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, I can advise that 3 responses were received in response to our survey, or letter, I should say. In terms of the installation, that installation will occur outside number 11 and 12, the avenue, but it was delayed due to an operational matter, but it has been rescheduled to this week, so you should be seeing that happening this week. In terms of C, the City is currently working on the expansion of the 40km/h speed zone, which is still subject to council approval. And in terms of working with the City of Nedlands, they have proposed traffic calming along the avenue west of Broadway with the intention to undertake the works within this financial year. And we understand that's also as a result of funding that they have received. So no firm date has been provided.
Okay. Any more questions there? All right.
The Capital City Planning Committee, it is noted that it has not met with approximately 2 years. When was the last meeting? Who was the last City of Perth representative? Are minutes public available? And can a summary be provided on what major projects are discussed?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
Thank you. Can I invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please?
Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, the Lord Mayor is appointed as the in an ex officio capacity to the Capital City Planning Committee, and the city's records show that the last meeting held was on the 22nd of March 2023. The minutes are prepared by the WA Planning Commission, so that's WAPC, and are not publicly available on the website. The city did reach out to WAPC to confirm this information, but was advised that further information can be sought via Freedom of Information request through the WAPC. As this is an external body to the city, any further information relating to this committee should be requested from the WAPC by contacting Commission support at committees@dplh.wa.gov.au.
Okay. One last question.
In the event of an identified need to increase staffing in the Ranger Patrol and Parking Services team, what would be the anticipated rise in expenditure that would need to be spent on podiatry and foot care management services detailed in this item? What budget does the city have for these services for staff?
Okay, fair question. Through to the CEO.
Thank you. And if I could invite the General Manager, Community Development, but also possibly if you could take a moment to explain the recent arrangements we have with the University of Western Australia. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Firstly, the current budget allocation is $18,500 and no increase in budget is anticipated should there be any future change in staffing levels in that area. We have recently implemented a services agreement with the University of Western Australia with their School of Podiatry to provide support to their podiatry students who run a podiatry clinic at our city place, and those services are provided for our staff, for the rangers and parking inspectors at no cost to the city for the podiatry consultation, although there is a cost attached should there be any equipment required, such as the appropriate footwear and so forth.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. And I just want to say thank you for giving this time to us to ask questions, graciously accepting our questions, and the staff that's required to prepare the answers. Just thank you very much. Yeah.
And on behalf of us, David, thank you for your questions. You're always respectful, and I often say that you're our unofficial ninth councillor for the work that you put in every single week and every single month, reading and being up to speed. It's inspirational, so thank you, mate. Good on you. You're an amazing contributor. Round of applause for David, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now let's move across to CEO. Have any other public questions been received prior to this meeting?
No, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. A reminder to those that the questions that we've just answered will be included into the minutes of the meeting, and a response will be provided in the agenda of the next council meeting if any aren't answered. In accordance to the Local Government Administration Regulations of 1996, as a person presiding at this meeting, I can confirm that members of the public have been given equal and fair opportunity to ask questions as provided in our Standing Orders Local Law. In addition, information is available on the City's website regarding public question time. On those grounds, I am satisfied that members of the public have been given ample opportunity to participate in the process in the forum, and as an alternative, you're welcome to contact administration directly with any questions, and our administration is always happy to comply. Moving to 6.3 is deputations. We now have deputations are normally received at an agenda briefing session. However, as the deputation topic is related to some items that are on the agenda, I have allowed for tonight's deputations to be presented at this meeting as the topics relate to the urgent business items. CEO, are there any deputations?
Yes, Deputy Lord Mayor, 2 deputations have been received speaking for item 21.2, elected member motion City of Perth's position on the proposed Perth Entertainment and Sporting Precinct, Burswood Park. 1 deputation has been received speaking for item 21.1, elected member motion City of Perth's position on the proposed Matilda Bay Metronet on Swan Ferry passenger and charging terminal. And 1 deputation has been received speaking against item 21.1, elected member motion City of Perth's position on the proposed Matilda Bay Metronet on Swan Ferry passenger and charging terminal.
Okay, thank you. And I might need to clarify that against motion. Having quickly read the deputation, I've got a feeling that Mr Lim is speaking for the motion as raised by elected member, but we'll confirm that when he comes up to read his deputation. Please reminder there are 5-minute limit for your deputations. I will now invite Robin Harvey, who's speaking for the recommendation in item 21.2, to please come forward. See you, Robin.
Hi. How are you all?
Yeah, all good.
Has my time started? I'm speaking tonight as a resident of Claysbrook and co-chair of the Save Burswood Park Alliance. Firstly, we would like to acknowledge Councillor Lisa for her very early support against the proposal for the racetrack, and further thanks go to Steve Wellard for submitting this urgent motion. I understand it's unusual for Council to consider these in caretaker mode, but it has to be considered urgent because we are aware that the government is planning to start groundworks in December of this year. No time to lose. In making this submission, I understand that the City of Perth have no direct say in this project. However, the racetrack will significantly impact the residents and businesses of our city in terms of noise and loss of important environmental amenity. Indeed, I'd like to put the noise in the context of our own experience of the high-powered speedboats that race at Burswood. The noise we experience from these speedboats is incredibly intrusive, and it's only from 3 boats. Imagine the noise from 25 supercars racing all day. When our group went to Wanneroo to experience for it ourselves, we recorded noise of over 100 decibels at 30 metres, and when we moved back 100 metres, the same recording was made. The City of Perth aims to have 50,000 residents by 2035, as I understand. However, expert planner John Syme highlights that the permanent supercar racetrack will have an impact on residential values and the number of people who are willing to make the city their home. People simply do not want to live near racetracks. In fact, the current EPA guidelines for motor racing highlight as their number 1 piece of planning advice, do not build near residential areas. Already real estate agents in Burswood are telling us that people have not followed through in purchasing property because of the racetrack. I'm asking all councillors to reflect on what is concerning about this proposal. It was announced at the election and presented as a done deal with no prior consultation for locals, for impacted councils or the wider community, despite them consulting with Supercars Australia in March 2023. The government continues to insist it's a street track, although 70% of the track, as we understand it, will be newly built 12 to 15 metre wide roads through parkland. To this point, there has been no environmental or noise studies provided to the public, and we know from experience that noise mitigation is simply impossible. There has been no transparency in terms of costs or plans. Thus far, they have only produced a cartoon map for us to look at that has no scale. And that we know from Parliament that Rita Saffioti says that the 217.5 million is an estimate only. Given our water bank experience, it's expected to be a lot more, I should imagine. There has been no cost benefit on the impact of the new outdoor amphitheatre or the so-called multifunction centre, we call the Pits building, on the viability of other venues, including many in the city of Perth. We know that supercars do not support small business in the city they race in. They control the venue, they control the hospitality vendors, they control the whole lot. Indeed, we know from Newcastle and Gold Coast that many small businesses closed down through the time of the motor racing. Finally, we know that the government is ignoring the wishes of the local and wider community, which has been clearly demonstrated in their feedback sessions. We had 14,000 signatures on 2 petitions, and in the online data, we had 85% against, even though it was highly moderated and for 2 weeks you weren't allowed to write no racetrack. In the face-to-face sessions, 98% of the post-it notes, which we photographed every single one, were saying no racetrack, yet the government trumpeted 79% positive outcomes. Shonky indeed. I've heard from many councillors in the recent Meet the Candidate events that they are opposed to this track. I believe I'm speaking for most of our community in urging you to hold true to your commitment. We do not want to have rare parkland ruined by asphalt and concrete. We don't want to be exposed to excessive noise across the river. We want more green space in the city, not less. We believe your urgent job is to represent what is best for your residents and small business owners. I want you to know that the residents of Claysbrook in particular, and many in East Perth, will remember the decision you make tonight, and I call on you all to vote for this motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Just before you take a seat, Robin, I'll just quickly check if anyone has any questions in relation to that deputation. Any questions from any councillors?
I tried to cover a lot in 5 minutes.
You did a great job. Thank you, Robin.
I might ask a
All
question.
right, yep, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, you do have one quick question.
Thanks, Robin. You mentioned there around the John Syme report. I just wanted to ask, some details were mentioned there around
Yep.
future population growth.
Yep.
Could you elaborate on what we've been missing out?
So John Syme, the WA Planning Commission proposed that there were 3 possible choices that the City of Perth in population growth could be: a high growth, a medium growth and almost a low growth. He is suggesting that if the racetrack goes ahead and we lose green space, it will be the low growth, so the increase in population will be approximately 5,000, because people, and I'm sure you all know, you wouldn't want to live next to a racetrack. That's why they're all out in the bush. The one in Sydney is 40 kilometres away from central Sydney. So that report is available to anyone that would like to see it. John Syme was part of the East Perth Redevelopment Authority from Claysbrook. He is really quite well respected in his industry. We put a lot of faith in what he's saying.
Okay, thank you.
Is that enough?
No follow-up? Okay, thank you. Alrighty, now we'll move through to our next deputation, which I would like to invite Megan Bagworth, if Megan's available, to come forward. Megan speaking for the recommendation. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me here today. So I represent Safety on Swan, which is a coalition that represents over 7,000 water users, including the clubs of Matilda Bay and state sporting associations and national sporting associations. So first, I just want to make clear that I'm really supportive of smart, progressive city building development. But when I picture the long-term vision for Perth, The proposed location and scale of the ferry terminal in Matilda Bay, it's at odds with the potential for the City of Perth and is inconsistent with the city's planning. Matilda Bay is where we show off our city, where families picnic, kids paddle, watch dolphins, swans swim past, where couples get married, and where we all get to enjoy the breathtaking and uninterrupted views of the bay and the city, where we proudly show off and say, this is Perth. What's proposed is substantial. A 140-metre four-berth terminal, almost the length of an AFL football field, 2 ferries permanently parked there during the day with the electric charging infrastructure to charge the network of ferries every 30 minutes. Ferries will run on 15-minute schedules from 6 a.m. until midnight, with 3 blasts for each departure to clear on-water traffic, plus multiple bus bays and turnaround along the already congested Hackett Drive, establishing a high-capacity transport hub. The initial routes are 1 ferry from Applecross to Matilda Bay and the second Matilda Bay to Elizabeth Quay, though it could be expected that the Matilda Bay site, as the large terminal and charging facility, would anchor future routes and expansion. So it is vital that this terminal is at a site that supports larger-scale commuter interchange, is scalable and is strategically aligned with Transport and City of Perth planning. This is what should be considered in the councillor's decision tonight. If this development proceeds, the impact on the current amenity of Matilda Bay will be significant. Sailability WA, a largest and most successful disabled sailing organisation, will be forced to close. Accessibility Program Fishability WA and SUP Central, who each year hires paddleboards, water mats and SUPs to cover to over 1,500 people, including school groups, families and tourists, will also cease operating. Junior and Learn to Row sail paddle programs run by the 10 Matilda Bay clubs will be impacted. The terminal is in the middle of the bay, where the young and novice sailors use the safe, protected waters to learn. The terminal cuts the access along the foreshore, restricting the Learn to Paddle and Row programs. These community sporting clubs rely on the calm waters of Matilda Bay. The foreshore and reserve, visited by over 400,000 people each year, would likely require exclusion zones and a seawall, permanently changing the accessibility. A large terminal in the middle, including pass and charging, will cut the reserve in half, restricting how families, clubs and visitors use the area. If you think the terminal in this location is a good idea, I do encourage you to take a walk through the bay. Notice how people spend their time there. Notice how they enjoy the views, the relaxation and the tranquility, and how the clubs and the children play in the water. And then ask yourself, will this terminal add to this experience or will it take away from what makes Matilda Bay so special? It is likely that the Matilda Bay it will require a seawall and traffic separation, which will restrict the popular water amenity of the bay. At Nedlands Jetty, though, where there is a seawall and there is deeper open water, this creates less wash impact and is better for the environment. So there is growing support amongst the Friends of Matilda Bay group for this terminal to be located at Nedlands Jetty, which is round the corner. Not just because it protects the popular amenity and visual appeal of Matilda Bay, but because it just makes sense. For UWA, there is no one location that is convenient. The campus extends from the foreshore up to QE2. A Nedlands Jetty, combined with a well-timed circle bus around the campus, would drop students and staff to exactly where they need to be, and the faculty, and would also have the added bonus of picking up those from the Stirling Highway buses and offering them the practical and convenient option. For the network, Nedlands Jetty aligns with the future expansion potential towards Fremantle with shorter distances and will avoid Matilda Bay's extensive slow speed limits and on-water congestion, which will slow down the entire ferry network. And Nedlands Jetty is aligned with the transport corridor planning of Perth to Peel at $3.5 million and the future light rail. For tourism, so a ferry has the opportunity of actually being able to activate foreshores. Matilda Bay is a Class A reserve, so there's no potential there for development or activation. It would require an Act of Parliament, whereas there's development interests around the corner at Jojo's. There's also high-density residential there, so every new residential has the opportunity to continue to activate the area and build development. For residents, the Nedlands Jetty is actually within a catchment which they could use that would actually reduce the peak hour congestion to CBD. For QE2, Nedlands Jetty would benefit the hospital staff as a quicker cross-river journey and then straight up Broadway. So given these advantages, the City of Perth, for the City of Perth in locating the terminal at Nedlands Jetty, any delay in the councillors forming a formal position risks the city's feedback being confined only to the Matilda Bay site and the development application, limiting the opportunity for the City of Perth to advocate for the wider benefits that the Nedlands Jetty would offer to the City of Perth. And I do want to say this is not about politics. Having been involved in the stakeholder engagement, the information that's been relied on in assessing this location is incomplete. For example, the ferry tender that was released in March only mentioned the Matilda Bay location site. This was well before the Department of Transport had met with Saleability in April. Also well before our stakeholder workshop that was held in May, when we talked about the benefits and the impacts and talked about possible controls. The assessment was decided on a partially controlled assessment, so there is opportunity there to continue to advocate for further assessment of the sites. So I therefore would recommend for the City of Perth to advocate for further assessment and risk management to ensure that the best location for the City of Perth of this terminal can be determined.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Very well put. Okay, now I'd also like to... Thanks, Megan. I'd like to invite and also acknowledge the attendance of Mayor Karen Vernon from Vic Park. Karen, if you could please pop up. It's great to see you here this evening.
Good evening, Acting Lord Mayor, councillors, City of Perth staff and members of the community. Thank you for the opportunity to come back and make another deputation to you. You might be beginning to think, like I am, that I have unusual fascination about coming to your council meetings. Guarantee you I don't attend any other council meetings of any other councils, so you should feel special. Yeah. Clearly, listening to particularly the last deputation presenter, there are a lot of parallels between two really major, significant developments the state government of Western Australia is planning for its inner city areas. As it stands, the town of Victoria Park is not directly impacted by the proposed Swan Ferry terminal at Matilda Bay. But what I do know about that project is that it is probably running at the same speed as the proposed Perth Entertainment and Sporting Precinct, which can only be described in the words of another famous car franchise for the movies, The Fast and the Furious. That is what is happening at the moment in terms of the planning. The town of Victoria Park has an endorsed position with regards to opposition to the motorsport racetrack portion of this precinct. So just to remind you, in February of this year, at our ordinary council meeting, fresh out of the January recess, we were all reeling with the WA government's announcement of an election promise to build a motorsport street circuit at our beautiful Burswood Park. At that time, we went on the record opposing it and supporting instead the Burswood Park Board's 20-year vision, which had been the subject of years of public consultation, had been endorsed by the WA government in December 2023 and launched to the community in January 2024 by the Minister for the Burswood Park Board. So imagine our surprise that in the context of that, merely a year before, we were suddenly being thrown out the notion that there would be a racetrack at Burswood Park, which was not, I repeat, not a feature of the 20-year vision. And I should say, to be clear about the Burswood Park Board's 20-year vision, it is not for a 20,000-seat amphitheatre. It is for a maximum 10,000-person capacity amphitheatre. Already the park can sustain numbers of that nature, attending festivals and the like, and indeed performances such as Day at the Green have been held there, and they have had upwards of 10,000 people come, but not seated. No provision in the Burswood Park Board's 20-year vision to build seating for people of that number, nor for there to be weather-protected seating for such an event. Only a permanent amphitheatre structure to reduce the significant costs faced by those in the entertainment industry in bringing such events to an open-air location where there is no permanent amphitheatre. For example, the Burswood Park Board does Santa's Symphony in the Park every year. It costs $130,000 to hire the stage on its own. That's before lighting, that's before technicians, etc. It takes several days to construct that stage, and that's for one 3-hour concert. So one can understand why the Burswood Park Board was determined to consider, after consultation, the appropriateness of a fixed amphitheatre infrastructure that would support outdoor performances. So we at the Town of Victoria Park support the 20-year vision. But that, of course, was in the context of a state election. At that stage, we perhaps foolishly thought that public opinion would be so against this proposal that it would not pass muster after the election. Lo and behold, it did, and it became a sore point to the stage where the government were no longer talking about a motorsport street circuit at Burswood Park. It was the Perth Entertainment and Sporting Precinct. Arguably, Burswood Park already is that, supported by Crown on one side and Optus Stadium on the other. So fast forward to August of this year, and our council passed a resolution adopting its FY26 advocacy priorities, and one of those is continued opposition of the construction of a racetrack at Burswood Park. We have no difficulties with the rest of the proposals, which are from the Burswood Park Board's 20-year vision. So why should you be considering supporting Councillor Wellard's motion? Well, a lot of people say that local government is an opportunity for the council to take an advocacy position, which might not always be aligned with the state government. There are lots of people who think that council is a platform for bringing just about any issue forward to councillors and ask them to advocate on the community's behalf. I'm not a believer in that. I don't think there is an unlimited number of issues that can be brought forward by a community and ask its council to take on their behalf. But a significant piece of state infrastructure which will materially impact on your community and this organisation is one that is well worthy of your thought as to whether you can indeed endorse such a proposal. To take a position of opposition allows you to seek meetings, allows you to make representations on behalf of your community and this organisation. And when it comes to that question about the impact, you've obviously heard from Robin Harvey about the impact from the perspective of residents. But I would like to say this to you. There will be, as you know there already has been with other state government infrastructure that has been put in the City of Perth, inevitable cost shifting from the state government to local government. There will be a request for heavy lifting to occur. Imagine this particular redevelopment. There will be issues of compliance. When your residents complain about noise, they'll complain to you, not the Town of Victoria Park. Your staff will need to investigate that. When they do the investigation, they'll have to hand it over to the Town of Victoria Park's staff for us to do the compliance and the enforcement. And likewise, we'll be dealing with the same from our own residents. There will be issues of traffic and parking management from people who will take the opportunity to park in your streets and walk across Madagarrat Bridge. You have jurisdiction for your local laws over portions of Madagarrat Bridge. These are going to be real impacts that really can't be taken into account. The motion itself refers to the impact of what is proposed in the state government's plan on your own venues locally and how they will be potentially competitively negatively impacted by yet another venue opportunity in such close proximity. But finally, when we get down to it, this is an opportunity for two neighbouring local governments to take a consistent position. Together we are stronger if we have that consistent position of opposition. In the face of this, we can say to the government that we represent tens of thousands of people who do not want this project to go ahead. That is a powerful opportunity for us to be a voice for our communities in this regard, in circumstances where they are largely every day reminded that they are quite voiceless. They say their opposition on social media, they sign petitions, they go to rallies, and yet still the government comes out week after week saying they are going ahead with this proposal regardless. They know the level of the opposition that exists to this particular proposal. So tonight is a good opportunity for the City of Perth to take on board this important matter on behalf of your community, to say that you're opposed to it for the good reasons. There is now almost 9 months down the track, no feasibility study, no business case, no environmental impact assessment, but there is detailed plans underway. There are more than 25 versions of the track design. There are engineers, urban planners, designers who are all working at a fast and furious pace to get this ready in order to deliver this for what I believe is a contract signed with the supercars for 2027 for events to begin. So we don't have much more time to take a formal position in the public eye, which is why we at the Town of Victoria Park Council made our final resolution in August to say this would be our priority for advocacy going forward. So I encourage you to do that. I know that I'm openly a big fan of public open green space in the city, and once it's gone, it's gone. You can't replace it. And I urge all of you to think about your own beautiful Kings Park that sits in the city of Perth. Imagine that were to be the focus of the WA Labor government for a permanent motorsport street circuit. Would you endorse that? If not, this is the chance to say so.
On that note,
Thank you.
Karen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And lastly, not least, I'd like to invite David Lim, who is going to clarify if he's speaking for or against the recommendation, and then put your deputation. David.
Yes, good evening again. So I got confused. So when the officer recommendation says here, it is recommended that the council defer any decision to correspond with the state government on the proposal.
No, you're speaking for the elected members proposal, which is for us.
Motion, so that would be a 4.
No problem at all, mate.
Okay.
Glad to clarify that. Good to see you. Far away.
All right. So my name is David Lim, and I am the Vice President of City of Perth Western Residents Association, an established neighbourhood group who represent the interests of the residents and ratepayers of the Crawley Nedlands neighbourhood within the City of Perth. As a residents association, we are committed to the City of Perth and the natural beauty of Matilda Bay. We believe there needs to be greater disclosure and transparency as to the analysis and reasoning behind the need for expanding the existing ferry service, which has resulted in the decision to locate a ferry terminal at Central Matilda Bay. Councillor Steve Wellard's motion outlines the key concerns of the impact of the state government's progressive announcements on Metronet on Swan. While the current public commentary has focused on water-based issues, and while important, land-based recreational, aesthetic, social and biodiversity issues need to be highlighted, such as cross-contamination of water between Matilda Bay and Elizabeth Quay, retention of mature trees on the reserve with any removal offset by additional tree planting, disruption to views, traditions and events, including weddings, family gatherings, anniversaries and community concerts, minimising the impacts on suburban streets with parking at capacity surrounding the university campus and traffic congestion a growing problem, facilitating multimodal connectivity where the need for a mid-tier transport plan incorporating light rail or equivalent needs to be addressed and an uptake of active transport encouraged, and realistic timetabling that favours reduced timing, duration and frequency of the service outside work hours, as well as semester periods in proportion to the scale and size of patronage. So, the state government's announcement a few weeks ago that a development application has been submitted for the UWA ferry terminal has necessitated the need for local residents and ratepayers to request that the council take a stance in response to strong community sentiment. An online petition commenced in July 2025 opposing the Central Matilda Bay terminal location has attracted 2,700 signatures and is rising. In addition, many handwritten petitions have been received by local Nedlands MP Jonathan Huston. He raised a grievance motion in Parliament a fortnight ago, highlighting the need for state government to provide further justification for the choice of terminal location. And a recent community picnic at Matilda Bay demonstrated that City of Perth residents and the general public recognise the dramatic effect of construction of a terminal which will have significant ecological impact and cause major disruption to the lifestyle of the community. People and wildlife are ever present on land, on the reserve and in the water. Matilda Bay is a tranquil place, a peaceful place for everyone, whatever their capabilities. With the 3-week public commentary period set to begin at the end of this week, the state government must provide a detailed business case with cost-benefit analysis as outlined in the answer to the question on notice number 283. This comprises of monetised and non-monetised impacts, including decongestion benefits, improved connectivity, increased tourism, improved urban amenity, improved community accessibility and livability, improved multimodal transport options, increased environmental sustainability and emission reductions. Earlier this month, further questions of notice were submitted and we await a response. Matilda Bay has been a significant place for the Whadjuk people for over 40,000 years. It is also a precious part of the heritage of WA, listed as State Heritage Place 18688. Matilda Bay was declared a protected A-class reserve over 100 years ago. More recently, it has been the home of the annual City of Perth Western Residents Association Community Sunset Sounds Concert Series held at Matilda Bay with the support of the City of Perth. One of the objectives as an association has always been to preserve and enhance the unspoilt nature of Matilda Bay, Pelican Point and local river frontages. We were pleased to be given the opportunity to engage in a series of workshops regarding the state government's choice of 5 possible locations, including JoJo's for the proposed ferry terminal servicing UWA. We were disappointed that the feedback offered by the vast majority of stakeholders was ignored. There is a perception among the stakeholders invited to the workshops and hence the broader community that the consultation may well have simply been a box-ticking exercise to arrive at a predetermined choice indicated by the speed with which works will commence. Democracy is undermined when consultation is cynical rather than a genuine process. The pristine beauty of Matilda Bay has made it a mecca for all people of WA as well as tourists. While our particular concerns include the size of the footprint of the terminal, the loss of shady tree areas for both picnickers and birds, and the likely traffic congestion of the area, we do not believe a strong case has been made for selecting central Matilda Bay for this major 4-berth terminal location, complete with charging station. We do not know the full story of why this location was chosen for 2 reasons. Firstly, there are several stakeholders who have vested interests in these locations. These include UWA and Sevens Group at the JoJo site. Secondly, there are 2 recent examples at a local level which demonstrate a lack of transparency. The community was informed in 2011 that the A-class reserve of Monash Avenue bushland at the QE2 Medical Centre precinct would need to be cleared for the temporary car parks, but the actual agenda was to accommodate Ronald McDonald House. B, the community was informed in 2018 the construction of Forest Hall 2 was, like Forest Hall 1, would be to accommodate international scholars, but the actual agenda was a financial operation, now a hotel, offering prime views of the river for any visitor with a vague connection to UWA. This was a development constructed through stealth and incrementation rather than open and engaging information, consultation and discussion. It now blocks vistas and has resulted in a similar loss of river frontage and university parking space, a disproportionately large building in contrast to its surrounding calm green space. In both these instances, City of Perth Western Residents Association has been a strong advocate for the community. We feel the state government should be a beacon for social awareness and the upholder of high environmental standards. We request that the Council of the City of Perth support its residents and ratepayers in its desire to preserve Matilda Bay and to rise above being just a referral agency, to advocate for the preservation of its natural beauty and prevent the area from becoming an unpleasant transport hub. Instead, the Council can be a local government leader, fulfilling its aspirations as a livable capital city, while scrutinising the state government's justification for infrastructure projects which go against prevailing community sentiment. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, any questions from Anyone on for David before we move on? All right, thank you, David. Okay, a couple of quick things, ladies and gentlemen. First one is there might be some interest as to why there was some lenience with deputations as opposed to question time. The reason I did choose to give more room for deputations is with the deputation, this is the last chance you get to finish your statement. With question times, all questions are provided to the city and all questions are answered in due course, even if you run out of time in chamber to ask the questions. So that's just why, if anyone does have any questions around that. And then second, I'd like to move a motion, just because there's so many people in the chamber today on these two items, I'd like to move a motion to move urgent business directly after those deputations and to strike while the iron's hot. Can I have someone second that motion, please? So we're going to move it forward. Okay, thank you. Do we need to put that to a vote? All right, let's put that to vote. So to move urgent business directly up from where we were to now, straight after the deputations, to allow everyone here an opportunity to listen, and for those who do have to leave, they don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting accordingly. So can we put that to the vote? Those for? And those against? Can we just mark that down as everyone for it, apart from Councillor Lisa? Okay, so that motion has been passed. Let's move to the first item on urgent business as I flick through. Okay, so item 20.1, elected member motion, City of Perth position on the proposed Matilda Bay Metronet on the Swan Ferry passenger and charging terminal. Councillor Wellard has moved that. I'm happy to second that. So Councillor Reynolds will second that. Councillor Wellard, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, through yourself, Deputy Lord Mayor. This motion is for the council to not support the construction of the proposed Matilda Bay Metronet on Swan Ferry passenger and charging terminal in its current design, as due to the terminal size, it will damage a large section of the riverbed and alter beach sand flow along Matilda Bay, one of only 2 protected east-facing beaches in Perth metro area. The high voltage electrical infrastructure will reduce green space, as we've heard today, and tree canopy reduction at Matilda Bay, potentially creating low-level noise pollution in the adjacent area while charging ferries. It'll have a negative impacts on the natural environment, including the Swan River, marine and bird inhabitants. There's been no disclosure of a feasibility study, environmental impact assessment, business case demonstrating the specific need for the terminal to be located in the centre of Matilda Bay versus the community's request of Nedlands Wharf, commonly referred to as Jojo's. While both Matilda Bay and Jojo's terminal location will have impact to local water users, the impact to existing water users and the need for ferry operation to give way to sailcraft at Matilda Bay is seen as incrementally more substantial. Matilda Bay is already serviced by the underused Purple Cat bus, free to and from St George's Terrace, and street parking at Matilda Bay is very limited. This motion requests the Deputy Lord Mayor to write to the Premier of Western Australia advising the City of Perth does not support Matilda Bay Metronet on Swan Ferry passenger and charging terminal as currently proposed. We're requesting further consultation with the City of Perth Council and administration on alternatives to the project as planned, and full disclosure of the business case against the Jojo's location. And while that happens, for all construction works to be paused until there's an agreed consensus on the project between the state government and the City of Perth.
Thank you, Councillor Wellard. As seconder, I'll be next to speak. And for the record, ladies and gentlemen, I want to be clear. I have long supported the idea of a vertical ferry service. And I am excited about the prospect of what this could mean for our city's future. In fact, I'd love to see the service be extended further down Freo and up to Claysbrook and Optus Stadium, so it isn't just a commuter service. But after attending community consultations and speaking to countless residents over the past few weeks, the message is loud and clear. The pristine waters of Matilda Bay does not need a 140-metre jetty right through the middle of it. The reasons have been well documented and well spoken to this afternoon, but they include the sailing school, the all-ability sailing programs, the moorings that are affected, the rowing clubs, the swimmers, the kids who learn to sail there. Putting a high-frequency ferry service in the middle of all that space simply isn't in the best interest of the community. I understand that the main reasoning has been to allow more convenient access to university students, but I can say as a father of a first-year UWA student myself who's studying psychology, if there's ever a time in my son's life that I want him to walk an extra 400 metres, it is now. And beyond students, our doctors, our nurses and our health workers, they need reliable access to work, and the JoJo's Jetty site provides a far more practical way and closer proximity for them to be able to get to work. Recently, just about all councillors attended community information sessions held at Matilda Bay. Recently, over 1,000 locals turned out at the Bay in a very constructive protest. Their voices were strong and they were united. So tonight, in spirit of those conversations, I urge us not to just be loud and clear in support of the community that we have been given the amazing opportunity to serve. What we are asking as the state government is simple. Do what we ourselves vow to do. We serve, we listen, and then we act. And sometimes that means adjusting our own position when the community is firmly against it. That is leadership, and that is why we're all here, and that is why the motion is the right decision. Therefore, I certainly commend the motion. Thank you, Councillor Wellard. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Sorry?
So if I could just indulge, please. I was reading out the motion before but didn't get a chance to speak to it.
Okay, sorry, fire away.
Thank you very much, Deputy Lord Mayor. Through yourself, I'm raising this motion as someone who has lived and worked in other capital cities, not just around this country, but in other countries as well, and have benefited from modern, fast, efficient passenger ferry networks. I'm very much an advocate of a ferry network taking advantage of our magical river that's out there. However, I share the increasingly broad community concern with construction of this very large ferry terminal and its associated high voltage power infrastructure in our pristine Matilda Bay. As I said, one of only 2 east-facing protected white sand bays in Perth. This motion is not responding to any NIMBY movement or wanting to prevent Perth continuing its journey to be a more active and vibrant capital city. This motion asks for urgent consultation and sharing of data modelling of the existing design so that we can better understand how this project at this location is the absolute best interests of the greater Perth community, both now but also for future generations to come. We need to better understand the issues and challenges that have resulted in the state government rejecting community requests for this ferry terminal and its high voltage infrastructure to be located at the southern end of Broadway. An upgrade to the existing Nedlands jetty, commonly known as JoJo's. I've raised this motion as urgent business, as I'm aware the project is gaining momentum with a development application submitted to the City for Perth to review. I've also raised it as urgent business because due to our election period, our next council meeting isn't until the 18th of November. My request is for the state government to formally meet with the City of Perth so we can reach consensus on the project's impacts, its needs, its benefits and expected outcomes. In raising this motion, I'd like to recognise the great work to date by the City of Perth Western Resident Association Committee, Jonathan Houston MLA and all the various watercraft clubs and associations on Matilda Bay for their positive, professional advocacy and their commitment to the communities on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wellard. Seconder already spoke. Horse cart moment. Sorry about that. Would anyone else like to speak for or against in debate? Yes, Councillor Bevan.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. I'd like to thank David Lim for his deputation. He spoke very articulately and I thought it was very, very good. I support the motion opposing the proposed ferry jetty at Matilda Bay. Matilda Bay is one of Western Australia's and Perth's most iconic public spaces, not just for its recreational value, but for its natural beauty and the way it connects people with the Swan River and the city beyond. It's a shared space actively used by rowers, swimmers, sailors, children, students, and people with disabilities. Introducing regular ferry services would pose significant safety risks for those already using the water, particularly small craft and vulnerable users. Beyond that, Matilda Bay is not just a functional place, it's a scenic one. Its uninterrupted views of the city across the water are among the most photographed in Perth. Many people, myself included, have captured and shared images from this very spot. It's a place where the build and the natural environment coexist in a uniquely peaceful way. That experience would permanently be altered by a 140-metre ferry jetty dominating and scarring the foreshore. This is a place where people come to walk, picnic, paddle, take photos, or simply sit and enjoy the view. It belongs to all Western Australians, a public space with real social and environmental value. It is not the right location for heavy ferry infrastructure. There are alternatives that could achieve transport outcomes without undermining the amenity, safety, or beauty of this much loved area. For these reasons, I urge you to support the motion and to help preserve Matilda Bay as a safe, accessible and scenic place for recreation and community use.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bevan. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Leeser.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on this motion with a significant degree of conflict. The timing and process by which this matter has been brought before Council is deeply concerning. We committed as a body to awaiting further briefings and a proper deliberation, and the willingness to circumvent proper process, regardless of the issue, risks undermining the integrity of this chamber. Frankly, this motion feels like a political manoeuvre. However, I cannot allow process concerns to drown out the clear and unified voice of the community. The community's message is clear. They support the ferry network, but strongly oppose the location of Matilda Bay. The community is telling us that the proposed terminal, the electric charging hub, and the ferry movements at Matilda Bay fundamentally fail on transport logic, sacrifice safety and community, and offer no economic or amenity benefit. The community tells us they prefer the alternative Nedlands Jetty that offers a shorter, faster, more efficient route. It unlocks major tourism investment and serves a dense, growing residential catchment. Our community is asking us to protect one of Perth's iconic natural playgrounds for all generations. They have done the work, provided the facts, and made a compelling case. While I object to the improper process, my duty is to represent the residents. Therefore, I will support the community's call for us to use all available advocacy channels to have the state government reconsider Matilda Bay as the location in favour of the Nedlands Jetty. The government can do better and the government should do better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against?
Just have a question here.
Yes.
So,
Councillor Gonzalez.
thanks. Was there any advice given in terms of being briefed on this matter, and when is that opportunity?
Okay, through to the CEO.
If I could, are we talking through the Deputy Lord Mayor, sorry, Councillor, are we talking briefed by government to elected members?
Or any briefing whatsoever to council?
Briefing to council and or elected members. Could I ask the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to advise, has there been any endeavours to approach a briefing with elected members or council?
Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, there's been no request to brief council through the Public Transport Authority. And the only opportunity has only just come up in the terms of the development application that's just been received, is when we have full awareness of what is being proposed, and the accompanying reports in support of that development application are now with the city for consideration. We are in the process of reviewing those.
I'll just follow that up. We do have a briefing next week from a community group. Was there any consideration to moving that? You know, we within a month now of the election, and there is a new council. Was there any consideration to allow a new council to have that briefing and make this decision?
I'll just pop that through to the CEO, but just before I do, I will comment that there was a community consultation with the public transport held at the rowing club recently that many of the elected members did attend, but I'll pass through to the CEO.
Thank you. The administration is not aware of that briefing. In relation to your question, yes, we were approached through Western suburbs, and also we had an approach from a community group direct to the administration seeking advice on a course of action as how the group could really discuss and share the information. That was then shared with elected members with the next available date when all elected members are available, which is the 7th of October, which is next Tuesday. And all elected members have agreed to the briefing, and we are inviting the proponents along to give a briefing. That's actually, though, a community group. It's not necessarily state government. Sorry, I answered your first part of the question in relation to a state government briefing. Administration hasn't been approached for a briefing. I'm not certain about the briefing that the Deputy Lord Mayor is discussing with the PTA at a rowing club.
Yeah, I thought you were there actually. There's one with Western residents. The Western residents hosted it, but that's okay. Neither here nor there.
I'll just clarify. I did just when you mentioned there that all elected members have agreed. I thought I made it very clear that I had a preference to delay that until the new council had an opportunity to. So I just want to clarify if that's your understanding.
I'd have to go back on the record. I think as it relates to elected members' engagement sessions, we really do look for opportunities for community to present to elected members. We appreciate that might not always suit individual members, but we do, wherever possible, look to the majority. I'd have to double check your feedback at the time, but equally, sorry, I'm uncertain. Are you suggesting that we should hold it at a later point after the council elections in October?
Yeah, was there any consideration on that matter, whether a new council being within, with us being within the caretaker period that we are already in, whether a new council should be better placed to make that decision and be briefed on it?
I think through the Deputy Lord Mayor, if I could say that an opportunity to engage with community is not necessarily a decision-making opportunity. That is actually in council proper at an ordinary council meeting. I think when community reach out wanting to share issues with their elected officials, as soon as is possible that should occur, there would be nothing that would stop a further briefing if a new council will need it. So I think the point is elected members' engagement session is an opportunity for community and council to come together. The vast majority of councillors support that opportunity. If there are further opportunities post the election, we will make that happen as well.
And I'll just quickly add to that as well, Councillor, that the next ordinary council meeting is the 18th of November. So this is why we've brought it forward as urgent meeting, as urgent business, because that's potentially 2 months before a letter gets sent. A lot of work can happen between now and then. So we're acting on the concerns, the harsh and the reality of the concerns of the community. Bearing in mind, our letter isn't necessarily to the Premier going to stop anything, but it's certainly putting on record where we fit in regards to representing those who have brought up the deputations and the literally thousands of people who have signed petitions and aired their position. They are looking for council to show leadership in this space. They're looking for council to be counted. So back to you.
At that point, I think with that information, I'd just like to move a procedural, to move a deferment. And I'm happy to speak to that.
Yeah, if you want to speak to that, please.
Thanks. Would you like the wording of the deferment or? Yeah, 13.1 and 12.1A. So of course we're considering this under urgent business, but I struggle with the fact that it asks us to adopt a formal no position immediately. Yet our own papers make two things crystal clear: that this proposal is being assessed by the administration right now, and second, our own staff go out of the way to highlight that the opening of potential risks in making any premature decision. A development application is active. The city still has a defined role in providing crucial planning advice to the state and the WA Planning Commission. And if we value evidence-based governance, we must work through these before locking ourselves out of further planning processes, which we have seen before. The mover's own reasoning asks that the state formally meet with the City of Perth so we can reach consensus. I fully agree, but we cannot begin a consensus process by declaring the answer first. I want to remind everyone that not only is this being considered as an urgent item, it's been considered within our caretaker period. This is the first year of where the state government uniform caretaker provisions apply, and the guidance is to avoid significant decisions that could bind incoming councils and 2, avoid the risk of predetermined matters still under assessment. Urgent business is an exception. It's not a shortcut. Our standing orders permit urgent business only where an item cannot wait until the next agenda or where delays would have adverse legal or financial implications. This is a high threshold and exists to stop precisely what we've seen. Policy lurches just before the facts are in, just before briefings, and importantly, just before the election. Tonight's resolution either is a significant act and should not be permissible as an urgent item because it fixed the public position and locks in and narrows the next council's room to move. Or the alternative is that it's so insignificant that it relegates the city to a passive commentator where the real decisions are taken out elsewhere and out of our hands. I worry that the reasons for this item go further than the issue itself. This motion offers explicit thanks to an opposition MLA by name in the middle of caretaker, which is frankly extraordinary and invites perceptions of partisanship and the flexing that we've seen of standing orders, which has already allowed the mover to effectively speak twice, undermines the process to deliver on good governance. Our job tonight is to properly consider items, not engage in last-minute election campaigning. As mentioned, we've yet to receive an initial briefing. I welcome the community getting that chance, but my earnest hope was that in the end days of this council term, we'll be empowering new council members and the community to have full opportunity to be engaged equally and equitably. An early outright no is not a strong move. It's a weak one. It hardens positions, it reduces our leverage, it reduces our ability to negotiate and create safeguards and risks sidelining the city from conversations when mitigations, conditions and design refinements are set. If we formally oppose now, we lose all our influence later. That locks us out of future planning considerations that matter most to our community. We should be giving and backing our community with the best chance for meaningful change beyond theatre, beyond words in a letter, and by deferring this item so that real action has a chance.
Okay, Councillor Gonsalves, just a quick one, which is the most important part of that interesting point of view, is deferring to when?
Excuse me, Deputy Lord Mayor. We've had a good talk there about proper process. I did not hear a seconder on this motion.
Yeah, he was speaking to it. He was describing, and it went further. So we will be going to a seconder once we work out when we're deferring. Yeah, deferring to when?
So that council requests that the CEO schedule a briefing with the state government and relevant community stakeholders, and that brings this to the next ordinary council meeting.
Which is in the 18th of November. Does that sound right? Yep, okay. Cool. Now, do we have a seconder? Okay, no problem. Okay, so let's return back to the original item. We're all happy to do that. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Sorry, Councillor.
Through you, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Ms. Lodgy.
I'd like to thank Megan first for your passionate deputation. It was really powerful. Thank you. And also speaking with Peter Garside earlier, very briefly, but very interestingly, he talked about the area near the Nedlands Jetty. It was originally a tram stop. So demonstrating that this was and now still could be a better location for public transport because it's tried and tested. And the space itself, as Councillor Bevan said, it's used by so many families and it's such a beautiful space. So spoiling this will be detrimental because you won't be able to get that back. Supporting this motion is easy because there is genuinely a secondary option. It's not a no to a terminal, it's just a request to have that consideration and move it on a little bit to the Nedlands jetty side near Jojo's to ensure that the beautiful spot that we have in the city remains as it is. So on that basis, I would support the motion.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else for or against? No?
I also have a question, 7.12.
Sure.
Can we get the view of the administration regarding this issue, please?
Okay, through to the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, albeit mindful it's not for us to necessarily have a position on a notice of motion, but we have actually stated a position. If I could invite that, please.
Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, the only position that we have put forward is advice in regards to the current development application, which is currently with the city. And so our advice was allow the city administration to undertake the assessment so that we can provide you with the advice around what that application entails and the background information to better inform your decision. That's the advice we would give.
Okay, thank you. All righty. Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you,
Councillor
Deputy Lord
Goldberg.
Mayor. Just to clarify one of the answers provided by the General Manager earlier to, I believe it was Councillor Gonsalves' first question, is the PTA still the lead agency for this? It's my understanding that it was the marine arm of the government.
Through the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please.
It is the PTA, through the Deputy Lord Mayor, it is the PTA that has submitted the application. So as the proponent, from a planning point of view, they are the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, if that's the case, I think we'll now move back to the mover to close. Councillor Wellard.
Sorry.
Sorry, Councillor.
I'd like to speak.
Okay, fire on. No problem. Fire away.
I'd like to speak no, though I do, in voting no, I do want to reflect that I am pro-community engagement and I'm really proud of seeing the advocacy by Megan, David and many others. Perth deserves a modern, efficient ferry network that connects our river city and eases road congestion and provides clean, sustainable alternative to driving. Electric ferries, well integrated with buses and cycleways, can play a vital role in how Perth grows. So this debate is not about whether we want ferries. I think we all do. It's about how we deliver them, how we can enable that process and deliver the right location that has true community consensus. And it's how we deliver them that matters. If we want ferries that succeed, they have to be designed with the community, not imposed on the community. That means fair and meaningful engagement. Engagement that is about co-design and finding solutions together. Co-design means the state and local government in partnership, working with residents, river users, UWA, local clubs, and accessibility advocates and businesses. It means putting all of the data on the table. Environmental studies, traffic impact reports, feasibility assessments, and then all of us work problem solving together. This is how you deliver ferries that people actually support and use. Part of co-design is being open to the question, is this right? Is this the right site? Perth has multiple riverfront locations that could easily host a terminal, and we've heard about some of those. With less disruption and more upside, the alternative sites might provide better connection with the bus network, have stronger parking capacity, and most importantly, as we heard from the deputations, unlock opportunities for foreshore activation, housing and tourism. Exploring these alternatives is not a delay, it is good planning. If we want a ferry network that endures, we need to get both the location and the design right from the start. Which goes back to why I'm voting no and why I urged a deferment, because the correct course was to defer this item for a new council to fully engage and back our community. Our own administration has told us they are still conducting detailed assessments, And our role tonight should have been to wait for that advice, and to wait for the briefings that we have organised only in a week's time. And yet, this notice of motion asks us to lock in a no position immediately. That hardens our stance before we have even heard the full details of the case, before the community process is complete, and potentially locks us out entirely. In other words, it corners us when we really need the space to negotiate and shape the project properly. So voting yes tonight would mean prejudging that outcome, reducing our leverage and binding our incoming council to a VIX position, which I can't do. That's poor governance and I can't support it. My vote is pro-process, but it's also pro-community. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Gonsalves. I'll just quickly underline the fact that we aren't giving you an option on this one. We've been told where the site has been selected, so that's probably where we're pushing back on. But neither here nor there. I'm going to pass that through now to the mover to close. Councillor Wellard.
Thank you very much, and through yourself, Deputy Lord Mayor, and I thank the comments from my fellow councillors. I do outright reject this motion being political, and I do reject it not being proper process. I was actually not going to raise this motion, and I was waiting for the state government to provide feedback to us. We did attend the session at the Dinghy Club where we raised a lot of strong motions and questions of the state government, and then the answer came straight back that it was going to be the central Matilda Bay location. Two things have happened that have brought this motion on. One is that, of course, as part of an election process, you do a hell of a lot of door knocking. And I would say every single door, every single person that I met in that area was dead against Matilda Bay, but not just dead against it. They were angry that we weren't making a decision whether we were for or against it. And it was really the lovely berating that I had from the wonderful Jane Boxall that convinced me to put this motion together. The second thing, of course, is that while we are waiting for information from the state government, a DA was submitted to council. If nothing else, this motion in its current format has allowed the design of that DA to be made public, and the people in the room here can see exactly what is being planned on that location. I really am concerned that if we don't raise this as business now, it will be December before we can get some sort of letter to the Premier, just letting him know that we're not saying no to a ferry project. We're just saying work with us, work with the community to get the right location. We're asking those people in political power and state government to think back to how they first came to politics, what drove them, that they are from the people, for the people. Work with us to get the right location, work with us to get a bit of infrastructure that will be key for our future in the right location and not detrimental to one of Perth's most beautiful bays. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wellard. Let's put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? And those against? Okay, Councillor Gonsalves against, the rest in favour. I declare that motion now carried. Congratulations, and to the community, I think we've had a win. Thank you. Moving now to item 21.2, which is the elected member motion, City of Perth position on the proposed Perth Entertainment and Sporting Precinct, in brackets Burswood Park. Movers, Councillor Wellard. Councillor Wellard, would you like to speak? Okay, sorry, I'll put a second. Then I saw your hand. Just move up then. Councillor, thank you. Councillor Gobbett, second. All right, mover to speak.
Thank you, Deputy Lord. Just a question as well. Do you want me to read out the motion as it's worded on here to save some time or not?
Look, it is on the screen for everyone to see, and it is in the agenda, so I think you can just speak straight to it if you like.
Okay. So the motion basically, if I jump straight to the request, we're requesting the Deputy Lord Mayor write to the Premier of Western Australia, advising that the City of Perth does not support the Perth Entertainment and Sporting Precinct as currently proposed, and we are requesting further consultation with the City of Perth Council and Administration on alternatives to the project as planned, and for all construction works to be paused until there is an agreed consensus on this project between the State Government, the Town of Victoria Park and the City of Perth. Now, the reasons why this motion has been raised after observing increased broad-based community concern, as well as attending a formal briefing by the State Government to the City of Perth Council here on Monday 25th of August, where I'd made several requests for more detail on those plans. More importantly, I've received direct feedback from door-knocking the East Perth and Claysbrook precincts these past few weeks that was consistently not in support of the project as it's currently designed. There is growing angst and concern amongst those residents living along the eastern end of our city that this project will have a much greater negative impact on their amenity than what is being advised by the state government. There is also shared concern amongst those many people who travel from outside of the City of Perth who enjoy the lush, peaceful native gardens and parklands either side of the Swan River, that those world-class recreation areas may be forever damaged by this project, either directly or indirectly. Again, this motion is not responding to any NIMBY movement or wanting to prevent Perth continuing its journey to be a more active and vibrant capital city. The motion simply asks for urgent consultation and sharing of data modelling of the existing design so that we can better understand how this project at this location is in the very best interest of the greater Perth community, both now and for future generations. I've raised this motion as urgent business, as I'm aware the project is gaining momentum with preliminary works underway. My request is for the three affected government bodies, State Government, City of Perth and Town of Victoria Park, urgently meet to reach consensus on the project's impacts, needs, benefits and expected outcomes. And again, I'd like to recognise the great work done to date by Dr Robin Harvey, OAM, and Town of Victoria Park Mayor Karen Vernon in their positive professional advocacy and commitment to their communities on this matter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Councillor. Seconder, would you like to speak?
I reserve my right. Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak for or against this motion? Yes, Councillor Bevan.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. I support this motion because public funds should go to where they're needed most. Today I want to draw attention to the mental health homelessness, which is obvious to all who walk the streets of Perth. A bed softer than the streets of Perth is needed. It's not just good policy, it's the right thing to do. In comparison, funding a racetrack may offer entertainment, but does not address urgent social needs. As Nelson Mandela said, there can be no keener revelation of society's soul than the way in which it treats its children and the most vulnerable.
Okay, very well said. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against? Councillor Doshi.
I would like to raise a procedural motion, part 12, 12.1A, the motion to be deferred.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to speak to...
Yes, I would.
Actually, we'll just quickly ask for a seconder. Would anyone like to second the deferment? No. Okay, so that's been passed through. Okay, thank you. Back to the original item. Would anyone like to speak for or against? Councillor Leeser.
Thank you, Chair. I put a motion back in March where I requested consultation from the state. 5 months later, in late August, Council received a briefing, yet questions regarding noise impact and environmental destruction, the core concerns of our residents, went unanswered. We agreed we needed more information. Therefore, the presence of this motion on the agenda today, before we have received the agreed upon briefings, is highly unusual. It is the very definition of a political stunt driven by expediency rather than sound governance. Further, I question today's reported conduct surrounding this issue. The secretive meeting between the Deputy Lord Mayor and the State Government, followed by the Deputy denying this meeting, took place. To be clear, the Council was not briefed in May 2025. This is a breach of trust and proper process. This undermines the accountability we owe to our ratepayers. However, my loyalty lies not with political games or flawed processes.
Point of order, Deputy Lord Mayor. Under Standing Order 742, member must not adversely reflect on the character or actions of another member.
And I'd like clarification. You're saying I'm lying, Councillor, in regards to a meeting or being deceitful? Just I want clarification on the record, please.
Because we haven't proceeded in the correct order, we haven't been able to...
Clarification on your statement, please.
The minutes have not been ratified and there is an agenda item to change the minutes.
That's not the clarification I'm seeking. I'm making a clarification on your statement, which you've read out, so you've got in front of you. Can you please clarify?
It will be clarified further in the meeting.
Okay. Would you like to finish?
Thank you. My loyalty lies not with political games or flawed processes, but with the people we serve. The community's mandate is clear. Approximately 70%, or as Robin says, maybe 80%, of our residents have expressed strong opposition based on genuine concerns regarding noise pollution, irreversible environmental destruction, and a consultation process that they feel ignored them. I do not agree with the processes that led us here, and I certainly do not support secretive dealings, but I am always happy to support my community. Therefore, despite the procedural failures, and because I refuse to allow bad faith of the few to negate the genuine voice of the many, I will be voting in support of the community's opposition. It's time we start delivering the governance our residents deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against? No, Councillor Doshi.
While the concept of a new, through you, Deputy Lord Mayor, while the concept of a new motor race circuit and event spaces may sound exciting, there has been no feasibility study, environmental assessment, or business case released to justify this. Without this information, it's difficult to see the need for another purpose-built venue with such proximity to existing venues. Importantly, placing such a large facility in this location could draw events away from existing well-established venues in the City of Perth, like Langley Park, Kings Park, the RAC Arena, and others. The city already has a rich network of spaces that serve our community well, and duplicating facilities in a less suitable location risks weakening them rather than adding value. A concept like this would be better located in an area where there is design flexibility to grow and enhance an entertainment precinct. I saw this firsthand on my recent working trip to Calgary. There, in the entertainment precinct, it sits on the fringes of the city, far enough from residential areas to minimise disruption, but yet close enough to be walkable, a walkable urban hub and well served by public transport. I'd like to thank Dr. Robin Harvey OAM for the remaining strong advocacy around this, and to all these Perth residents that I have spoken to personally about this issue. As a concept, this proposal may hold merit, but I firmly believe the location is very challenging. My role here is not to simply follow what I think is right, but to listen to the community and understand what they want and how they feel, and then represent that sentiment in this chamber. Based on all the information and a diligent, informed decision, I do want to point out point 5 on this report I also have grave concerns with. On the 14th of May 2025, the Deputy Lord Mayor attended a meeting with a Parliamentary Secretary to the Premier, Daniel Pastorelli, MLA. Regarding this meeting, no outcomes were discussed formally or communicated to all elected members or to city administration. It is your duty to inform the council, not administrations. You held this information, and still, for over 3 months, this could have been dealt with a lot sooner than today. This lack of transparency makes it difficult for us as elected members to fully understand the state's position, and for the council to make an informed decision on behalf of our community, and why protocol was not followed in regard to the meetings being held by the DLM, with state government not informing his council on this when asked, which reflects the changes in the minutes, which we'll discuss later. I therefore request that the outcomes of this meeting be formally communicated to council in writing, so that all elected members and the administration are fully informed. It is noted, the administration have several briefings planned over the next 4 weeks regarding this matter, which allows us to deepen our understanding of the issue. It is noted that this report is also the state development bill that has been introduced to WA Parliament on the 10th of September 2025. Will, if it passes, grant the executive arm of government extraordinary powers to approve major strategic projects. I am concerned that this is unclear whether the Burswood Park project falls within the scope of this legislation. So uncertainty creates significant risk for both council and the community, as it may limit transparency, reduce local input, and undermine proper oversight in the decision-making process. So on closing, as much as I support this motion, I can't accept it based on the information that we have, hence my previous request for a deferment. When all meetings of the minutes that have been taking place with stakeholders over the last 3 months have been provided to the EMs, and the several briefings that have been organised by administration that we are expected to attend so that we can respond to this motion with an informed, a due diligent and with full transparency provided. And that way I feel that we could make an informed choice on how we present. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I might just add into there while we're on the subject, and it is pertinent to add. Councillor, the meeting I had with Mr Pastorelli was not a secret meeting to either councillors. It was explained to me that it was a courtesy that and I was given the content that was the same that was shared that week with community, including Mrs Harvey, who I'm aware had a meeting, and I've spoken to Mrs Harvey about that meeting as well. And I was led to believe and told that within 2 days, either, again, this is going back on recollection, 2 days before or after with the city itself. So they were the same meetings as I was understood to be told. It was also understood that all elected members would receive a full briefing, which we now have had. In my view, is therefore the responsibility of the city to provide that briefing formally through EMES, the proper channel, and it has since occurred. As for the meeting itself, elected members are entitled under the Local Government Act 1995, section 2.10, to represent the interests of electors, ratepayers and residents, and to facilitate communication between community, council and other stakeholders. That is exactly what I did. There was no secret meeting. I was there listening to a briefing which we have since had, and which I was led to believe that community stakeholders, including Mrs Harvey and other interested groups, including the city, had that week. And you can shake your head, but I'm telling you what happened, councillor. That is exactly what I did. If you want further detail on governance framework, and it's a good point you bring up, I suggest referring to sections 2.10 and 2.29 of the Act that guides us, which makes clear our role to both represent and to liaise. There is no prohibition on courtesy stakeholder meetings, provided they do not purport to be a decision of council, which it was not. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak for or against the motion?
I have my hand up.
Got a further question, Councillor Doshi?
I have a question, 7.12. My question to you, Deputy Lord Mayor, is the meeting that we were made aware of was on the 14th of May 2025. The first we as elected members heard of it was in the EMES, where state government came to present on Monday, the 25th of August. May I ask, as our leader, why were we not informed about your outcome of the meeting that you had with the community, which we are all a part of?
As I said, the city was in the same meeting, so it was my assumption that the city would be giving the content of that information. Further question?
I have another question. In that case, can I ask the administration, what advocacy has the administration taken in the way of letters and any communication? And can you please respond to the question from the Deputy Lord Mayor in terms of your input with that meeting? Thank you.
Okay, thank you to the CEO.
I may have to take some of that on notice, but if I can tell you, yes, the city responded to the request of council on the 25th of March that we write a letter inviting consultation on the project. And from that point, we also note that there was a meeting on the 14th of May, which we have recently become aware of. We were not privy to the discussions or information as it related to that. We have, as the council is aware, were recently briefed by Mr Pastorelli and also a member of the state government on the 25th of August. I think in reference to the meetings with state government, the questions that were asked in council were related particularly to meetings with Mr Pastorelli. I can tell you that the city has not had a briefing from Mr Pastorelli.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
I'm
Okay.
happy to
Councillor Gonsalves.
to speak? Thanks. So I'll be speaking yes on this because tonight we're being asked to consider a proposal that will shape the future of East Perth and its surrounds for decades to come. This second motion reveals concerns with the Perth Entertainment and Sports Precinct as it's currently designed, and I support it because at its heart, it's not about saying no, it's about ensuring that growth is sustainable, balanced and livable. East Perth is one of our most strategically important areas of the city. It's where new residents, families and businesses are choosing to live, work and invest. I know this because I've lived in East Perth for nearly half of the 24 years that I've lived in the city of Perth. Back then, when I first moved here, in the early 2000s, Claysbrook was still growing beyond its initial groundworks with yellow sand everywhere. But we all knew that East Perth would carry our desire for a livable city and our hopes for development that would substantially grow our city. At that time, it was quite unusual for people to know a 20-year-old to live in the city, let alone anyone to live in the city. So I'm really proud of where we've come in those 25 years. But if we were to allow a project of this scale to proceed without careful thought, we would be risking undermining our very livability that makes this community attractive. Increased noise, traffic and environmental disruption are not abstract issues. They directly shape our potential. Our responsibility is not just to residents here today, but to future generations. What kind of city do we want to hand over to them? One that is fragmented or one that is inclusive and designed for people first? To me, the answer is clear. We must not compromise East Perth's growth potential by locking in neighbouring land uses and activities that drive residents away. This does not mean turning our back entirely on sports and entertainment. Perth must continue to be vibrant and attractive and world-class. But vibrancy needs to be done by challenging us all to better connect, activate and be confident together in designing a future. If we believe in evidence-based planning, it says we will advocate strongly for consultation, for transparency and for designs that protect our environment and community amenity. So I'll be voting yes. As Perth and East Perth, if we really are to thrive as a truly global, livable and community-first city, we can't afford to limit ourselves. Thanks.
Councillor Gonsalves, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Okay. Would you like to close, Mover?
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Lord Mayor, and thank you, fellow councillors, for those comments. I'd just like to clarify a few things. I was not aware of any secretive meetings, whether they were secretive or not, with the state government. This motion has been raised, similar to the previous one, due to growing concern from the council, and basically initiated from our East Perth Community Group candidate session at the WACA, whereby Dr. Robin Harvey challenged us, all councillors, to basically, in very strong words, make a position and make our position loud and clear because this project was gaining momentum. I'd like to thank and commend Councillor Leeser for the initial motion, which basically got us to where we are today and did get a briefing on this subject. So that was a fantastic first step. I think it's disappointing, though, that we seem to be bringing our election political bias into this chamber, and this motion should be much more than that. This motion is about responding to community, responding to some real concerns that are out there, and we should be focused on that and not an election campaign. Finally, I know there's been some support from the Cycling Association or cycling clubs for this development because there's a potential use of the track being used for Criterion. I'd put back to the state government, let's drop the racetrack and put a Criterion track around it, right? That's 2 kilometres of 6 metres wide rather than 4 kilometres of 12 metres wide. Sounds much better for the environment and much better for the community. Thank you, everybody, and we'll put this to a vote. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Wellard. Let's put this to a vote. Those for? Okay, that's unanimous. That is moved. Well done. Thank you to those who did stay back for that. So, for anyone who, we'll move now on to our next item, where are we? Item 7, which is confirmation of the minutes. We now move to item 7, which is confirmation to the minutes. Would anyone like to move the following recommendation, which is 1, confirm the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 26th of August 2025 as true and correct record, and 2, amend and reconfirm the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 1st of July 2025 as a true and correct record, subject to A, an amendment to the response in question 1 from Robin Harvey on page 9 to states, yes, the Deputy Lord Mayor met with Daniel Pastorelli. B, the provision of the updated public question time response as provided point A to Robin Harvey for the information. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Gobbett. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Wellard, mover to speak. Seconder to speak. No? Okay, let's move that to a vote. Those in favour? Okay, that's passed. Thank you very much. Item 8, which is questions by members which due notice has been given. No questions have been received. Item 9, which is correspondence. No correspondence has been received. Item 10 is petitions. No petitions have been received. Items en bloc. So before we move on to the officer's report, the following items have been identified to be moved en bloc. Item 11.1, submission of a draft for the Perth Convention and Exhibition Centre, Precinct Improvement Scheme number 1, 15.1, which is the monthly financial statements for July 2025, and 15.2 is the schedule of accounts paid for July 2025. Do any of the members wish to extract any of those items?
Yes, through you, Deputy Lord Mayor, 11.1.
11.1 we can extract. Would anyone else like to extract any other items? No? Okay, so we'll move 11.1. Can I get a mover for this motion, please? Councillor Doshi. Seconder, please. Councillor Leeser. This motion has been unopposed, so we'll move this and declare it carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11. We now move to 11.1, which is the submission of the draft for the Perth Convention and Exhibition Centre, Precinct Improvement Scheme number 1. This item has been moved to be spoken to, so Councillor Doshi.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Lord Mayor. The improvement scheme also includes...
Very quickly, I'll just get a seconder on that one. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Gobbett. Thank you. All right.
The improvement scheme also includes portions of Mounts Bay Road, Mill Street and Spring Street. These roads currently rest within the planning responsibility of the City of Perth. However, through this improvement scheme, planning responsibility will be transferred to the WAPC. The administration is not aware of any proposal to remove the city's responsibilities for controlling and maintaining these roads, including responsibilities for approving any changes to the designs of the roads. The transfer of planning responsibility to the WAPC may reduce the city's control over how these roads and adjoining lands are developed or used. The city may have the city may have less influence on decisions seriously affecting traffic and adjoining developments. We may only then get access to information relating to these issues in the city through FOIs, which will cost money and time. If the city retains maintenance and operational responsibilities, but loses planning responsibilities, there could be ambiguity and conflict between the city and the WAPC, causing delays, inconsistent decisions, or difficulties coordinating upgrades, design changes, or approvals. The city may continue to bear the cost of maintaining and upgrading roads without being able to fully influence planning decisions that could increase those costs, i.e., higher traffic volumes from new developments approved by the WAPC. This will leave the ratepayer to bear the cost. Residents and businesses may lose a seat at that table when it comes to influence planning outcomes for these roads. This could impact community trust in the city if stakeholders feel their concerns are not addressed locally, even though we won't have the overarching power to do so. The State Development Bill introduced to the WA Parliament on the 10th of September 2025 will, if passed, grant the executive arm of the government's extraordinary powers to approve major strategic projects. I am concerned that this is unclear whether the PCEC project may fall within the scope of this legislation. Such uncertainty creates significant risk, as we've seen tonight, for both council and the community, and it may limit transparency, reduce local input, and undermine proper oversight in the decision-making process. I would like to see more clarity on whether the PCEC will fall in regards to this legislation, but based on that alone, I can't support this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Goblet, would you like to speak?
I reserve my right, thanks.
Would anyone else like to speak? No? Okay, let's put that one to a vote. For those who are in favour? Okay, yep, so that is everyone except for Councillor Doshi. So that's fine, that has been carried. Thank you. Item 12 is the Community Development Alliance reports. There are no reports. Item 13 is Infrastructure and Operations Alliance reports. There are no reports. And item 14 is the Commercial Service Alliance reports. There are no reports. Item 15 is the Corporate Service Alliance report, which is 15.1, monthly financial statements. That has been moved and carried en bloc. Item 15.2 is the schedule of accounts paid for July 2025. That has been carried en bloc. Item 16 is the Engagement and Activation Alliance report. We now move to item 16.1, which is the Business Relocation Grants for 25-26. Councillor Gobbett has an impartiality interest but is not required to leave the chamber. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Leeser, seconder. I need a seconder. Councillor Wellard. Mover, would you like to speak?
No, nothing, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, would you like to speak?
No, I'm right, thank you.
Let's move that to the vote. Those in favour? And that item has been carried unopposed. Thank you. Item 17, which is the CEO Alliance reports. There are no reports. Item 18 is the committee reports. There are no reports. Item 19 is motions for which previous notice has been given. There are none. Item 20 is matters for which the meeting may now be closed. And item 22 is closure. There being no further business, I now officially declare this meeting is closed at 7:06. And again, I extend all the best wishes for those who are up for election. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Please all rise for the Deputy Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Bruce Reynolds.